And some breaking news coming in one of the very crucial moves. Sources say that the government may end the freeze on delimitation in Jammu and Kashmir. This would be one of the most crucial moves of NDA-2. Now, Jammu region would have more say in the seats than Kashmir if the delimitation process happened, and Kashmir region would have the upper hand in deciding the chief minister in the state. Right, my colleague Nikunj joins me on the phone line for more details. Nikunj, can you just explain to our viewers what exactly the lifting of this delimitation would mean for the seat distribution between Jammu and Kashmir and the larger implication that it would have?
Well, the fact is that according to the provisions of the delimitation exercise as it is envisaged now, we do not know once a fresh delimitation commission is set up by the governor, who is completely empowered under the scheme of constitutions, what shape does it take then? And what would be the recommendations of that delimitation commission also? Certainly we are not privy to unless the commission comes into being and submits its report. But as it is envisaged today, it surely will add more seats to the kitty of the Jammu region, which will make then, Kashmir region less important as far as the functioning of the state assembly is concerned, because the numbers of MLAs coming from the state of part of the Kashmir region will almost either be comparable or lesser than the MLAs coming from the Jammu region. This obviously has been a long-pending demand, but governments in the past have freezed this exercise of delimitation. According to the constitution, this exercise should take place after every decade, but state governments have frozen it in the past, and the challenge to that freeze by politicians from Jammu region, like the Panthers party chief, Mr. Dr. Bhim Singh, have certainly not been approved by the Supreme Court. So there are now two challenges to be met. How do you go around the challenge of Supreme Court's agreement with the bar, and how does the bar from the state government decision is removed? That bar can be removed by the governor because there is no government in the J&K right now. So the governor is empowered to do it. But still you will have an obstacle in the form of Supreme Court's agreement with that bar. And if that has to be circumvented, then obviously either the government of J&K or the government of India will have to go in for an appeal against that decision of the Supreme Court. In that situation, we will have to see what position does the government of India takes in that entire dealing. Because in the past, they have concurred with the government of Jammu and Kashmir. And in this case, if they still concur with the governor of Jammu and Kashmir for a fresh delimitation commission, then only can the exercise begin. And of course, Supreme Court pronounces a favorable judgment. So there are lots of ifs and buts before actually a delimitation commission can come into existence.
Right, this is of course going to be a long-drawn process. Nikunj, thanks so much for joining us. Also on the phone line is Mirror Now's consulting editor Vinay Tiwari. Vinay, this is going to be like treading through a minefield, because not just are there legal hurdles, but this is also a politically very sensitive subject. It is a political hot potato given the religious connotations and of course the competitiveness between the Jammu region and the valley itself.
It is, but I think, it's going to be unfair if we look at this whole controversy purely from a religious point of view. There is a large-scale issue of caste-based reservation that is linked to delimitation. There is an issue of how this original delimitation exercise was done in Jammu and Kashmir, and of course the two commissions that have earlier been set up to recommend the delimitation exercise in Kashmir, which in any case were anomalous in nature. Because remember, before independence, when the accession happened, the division of seats between Jammu region and the Kashmir region and Ladakh was done what is being largely referred to as an arbitrary manner. And that arbitrariness has never really been corrected. Nikunj was referring to this. There have been many commissions of inquiry as well as attempts made to do that. Most chief ministers have recommended it. Ghulam Nabi Azad had tried it. Mehbooba Mufti in 2016 spoke about it as well. There was a recommendation from the assembly as well. But no one has ever really gotten to do it. One, because, as you said, it has connotations. But it has more than just religious connotations. It has connotations of reservation as well as identifying which seats should be reserved constituencies. Because remember, the concept of reserved seats does not exist in the valley. And that's something, while it does exist in Jammu region. So that's another contentious issue that needs to be debated and discussed on this matter, Aarti.
Right, absolutely, Vinay. It is a contentious issue. But there is also the question, of course, of Amit Shah, who is the recent Home Minister. He's taken over, and there is expected to be a more hawkish policy towards Kashmir. So do you think this particular move is a sign in that direction?
Well, I mean, hawkish is one term people may use, but the other term could be that this is a more decisive minister in charge of the ministry, and this is not something that has happened for the first time. My only point on this is that the delimitation exercise in Jammu and Kashmir has been pending for a long time, and for many, many years, the governments at the center have dithered on taking a decision purely because they're worried about the fallout of this. The last time a delimitation happened, Aarti, was in 1995 when, too, there was a governor's rule. So the local government in place has never really moved on it effectively, and on both occasions, it's been the central government which has had to take a lead to actually do that. And I think this time again, now that you again have a governor's rule here, it'll be easier for the center to implement a rule or a system or a new delimitation exercise, which would otherwise never really had done if it was left to the state government because of those political considerations. So I think this is something that's not new. It's something that has been asked for in the state for a very long time. Whether it is the Gujjars, whether it is the Bakarwals, or whether it is the Gaddis, who are all part of the Jammu and Kashmir's local terra firma, they've not got the benefits of the reservation, even though they should be, much like it is true in other states where there are reserved constituencies for SCs and STs. So it goes beyond just the religious divide, and I think this is something which is an issue that needs to be tackled at some stage, which is perhaps what the Home Ministry is trying to do, Aarti.
Right, Vinay Tiwari there, a consulting editor joining us. Thanks so much for help putting that in perspective.